Welcome to the Kristi Jones Show. This is your go-to podcast for living life to the fullest. I am a life and empowerment coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate. I am a woman passionate about helping others build a life that they truly desire. We'll talk about how to make the most out of every day, from setting meaningful goals to embracing the present moment. So join us as we explore the depths of living a life that is full of joy, purpose, and satisfaction. Well, hello and welcome, my friend, to another episode of the Kristi Jones Show, where I talk and share about all the things to live your life fully. So today I'm recording episode 16. I can't believe this has been flying by, and I've really enjoyed starting this podcast show. And I love hearing from you. I love hearing your comments, your thoughts, your opinions. So keep those coming. And you can, on how to get a hold of me, just look down in the show notes if you haven't reached out to me, and it should all be below in the show notes. But yeah, I love to hear that. So keep it coming. So on episode 16 today, I am going to talk about I'm going to share some top performance tips, both in business and life. And this will be a brief episode. And obviously, this is not an all-inclusive list, but these are some that have come to mind from some recent discussions that I've had. So that is what I'm going to be diving into today. So thanks for being here. And so here's what got me to decide what I was going to cover today in this episode. I recently joined as a mentor onto an organization called Women Making Waves. And we had our first group introductory meeting this past week, which was really great. And it was so great to begin to meet everyone from all over. So, which is the cool thing with technology, right? It's so awesome. I love all the tech stuff. Now, I have not mastered all the tech stuff, but I love it all. I love it all. Okay, so joined as a mentor on with Women Making Waves. And from that conversation, and as that's kind of opening and getting ready to get going, it had my brain in this space of things that we've done that I've learned through my life in business and on the personal side that really have been what I call top performance tips. So, and let me share really quick, I am going to, at some point, I am going to be interviewing the founder of Women Making Waves. And I really want my listeners to know about this organization, hear what this organization is doing, because it's fabulous. Is they support the next wave of women on their journey as they navigate life. And Women Making Waves connects these young women, actually women of all ages. I say young women, but it is honestly such a diverse group. So all women in all stages of life, to connect them with mentors from across various disciplines and industries so that they can create their lives from a place of trust and they can innovate their lives. So I am 100% behind the movement of this organization and honored to have been invited on as a mentor. So let me dive into what I want to share with you today on some top performance tips. If you are in any type of leadership position, in any way, shape, in business, in life, in a group, in a small group, if you are just a high achiever, if you are someone that is always looking on how you can, improve yourself by 1% every day, you need to be listening to this podcast. If you know someone else, you need to share this podcast with them. So I'm going to just dive right into the first one that came to mind when I was making some notes for today's episode. And that is sharing. It's not always what you know, but what you do with what you know. And so I share this a lot in my coaching, and my clients know this, that I've gone from being a single mom on government assistance to now an 8-figure entrepreneur. Rebuilt my life from the ground up, personally, professionally. If you followed me for any length of time, you know some ins and outs of that. You know that to be the case. And so what I feel that when I look at myself of what helps me overcome any challenges in my life, and what is something that I can say that was a strength and what I always knew about myself of how I would get from point A to point B. And I've always believed that it's not what you know, but what you do with what you do know. So my point is, you can have all the freaking knowledge in the world. Okay. You can be like so uber smart, read all the books, taken all the classes, have all the degrees, have all the certifications. I mean, just make the list. But if you can't apply what you know, then how is all of that you know, how is that helping you? I have witnessed in my life, I've watched that play out for individuals that, have had it all, had all the knowledge, had all the formal degrees, had all the things, and they're not putting it to work for them. So I quickly learned early in life that it wasn't always what you know, but what you do, the action you take with what you know. Big difference, huge difference. Now, always great to learn more, always great to acquire new skills, develop more knowledge, learn. We're constantly learning in life. We're not a one and done. So you don't just like get your, whatever you want to, whether it's like a certification, a degree, whatever it might be, you're not done. You're continually learning through life. You're continually learning new things that apply to what you do. So you never one and done. Know that. So it's not what you know, but it's what you do with what you know. So if you don't know as much as the person sitting next to you, but you are the person taking action on what you do know, you're making decisions. You're doing things, you're trying things, you're implementing, you're executing what you do know. And the other person might have broader knowledge, might have more information, might have all the things. But if they're just sitting there and spinning their wheels, A, maybe not having the courage to do anything. B, could be that they just don't have the motivation to do the work, because you got to do the work, people. So I don't, there could be a variety of reasons why they're not executing on what they do know, but you have to take what you have to work with and you got to make it work for you. So I'll give a little example, and I don't know why this just popped in my brain, but it did. So if it popped in my brain, that means I am supposed to share it with you. I really believe I kind of let God just kind of guide me on these things sometimes. And if he gives me something, then I'm like, okay, all right. As I've gotten older, I've been really good at leaning into what I'm guided to do, what I'm guided to talk about. So there's that. So for this example, or this particular tip that I'm sharing, what just came to mind was many, many moons ago, a comparison between me and my best friend at the time, and God rest her soul, she is no longer with us. And unfortunately, my best friend, she had passed when she was 50. And such a beautiful person, such a beautiful soul in so many ways. We could not have had different upbringings. I mean, it was like oil and vinegar. We were best friends in high school, and that's when we met. And so, I had an awesome home life and loving parents and, all the things. We had some financial struggle. We definitely did. I mean, there were definite times that, it's a whole story. But my parents worked extremely hard, and they set such an amazing example for me of how to overcome adversity. But my best friend came from abundance, financial wealth, not necessarily the same type of loving home life, but wanted for nothing physical things. You know what I mean? So as we grow up, she took a traditional path of college, and she was honestly getting a degree in something over and over and over the entire time I knew her, way into adult life, 30s and 40s. And I was more there wasn't a job that I didn't take on that I didn't think that I couldn't do it really good. I knew I could figure it out. I wasn't saying I knew everything going in, but I always knew. I was never scared. Like, I'm going to go get that job. I know that I can figure that out. They can teach me, and I'm going to rock at it. So we were in two different, she felt like she always had to be uber qualified to get the degree, to do all the things before she could move on with her life. And I mean, she was always in that mode. And I was, ready to just make the move at any given time. When I saw opportunity and I decided that was for me, I went and did it. I wasn't scared to change jobs. I wasn't scared to move. I knew all I had to do was make the job work, succeed at it, and I would figure it out. And she was always like, oh my God, how can you do that? How do you're crazy. I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. I just know that it's going to work. I can do this. So we were really in different headspaces. And she, through years and years and years, multiple degrees, she gained so much knowledge. And that in itself is an amazing goal and accomplishment. So definitely not taken away from that. She did a fabulous job at that. But she never truly put any of that into action. And she never went to that next step. And while I did not take that traditional path and was always, whatever I had learned, whatever training I had done, whatever I had just, gone through, I was like a sponge. I was like, give it to me. I'm going to soak it in. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to get it down, and I'm going to go. And I'm going to act, and I'm going to implement. And then I might make a mistake, and I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to do it again. And then that may not work, but I'm going to learn from that, and then I'm going to go again. I mean, call it hard-headed. I don't know. I don't really know how to label that, other than it's not what you know, but it's what you do with it. So don't stop yourself from trying something, from doing what you want to do, because you don't feel like you know everything. Guess what? Nobody ever knows everything. So the people that tell you they know everything, they're lying. They don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. So it's not what you know, it's what you do with it. So if you're in a place of like, well, I just, you're not getting, let me say this, if you're not getting where you want to get, but you have all this knowledge, ask yourself, are you implementing? Are you executing on what you already know? Or are you just trying to just learn more and more and more and more? So you're constantly taking stuff in, but you're not doing. This podcast are a great example. I'm glad you're listening. Love that you're listening. I have other podcasts that I love listening to, and I know you do too. you're a podcast person, like you just, I don't know, you have your favorites, you like to check in, listen. Here's the thing. Listen to a podcast. A lot of times people are taking in all this information, whether it's personal development, whether it's motivational, whether it's technical, whether it's, whatever genre it is. And they feel good about themselves because they're listening to it. So, I mean, good for you. Like, that's good. We're listening. That's great. But what is next? Are you implementing? The point is to listen to a podcast and then figure out what part of that or what components of that you can apply to your life and put it into action. It's kind of like, the people that do all the talking. They just talk, but they don't do. Same thing. Don't be the talker. Like, get crap done. Apply the stuff that you're learning. So I am all about learning, 100%. I'm all about learning, educating, totally behind it. But not behind spending all that time and then doing absolutely nothing with it. So don't do a disservice to yourself in that way. Like, if you're listening to a podcast and you're getting something from it, that's great. But don't just get pumped up about it. Like, do something. Put it into action. Okay, off the soapbox on that one. But know that it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you do know. So if you're sitting here listening, Kristi, I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe you feel insecure that maybe you're not doing the things you want to at work because you don't feel like you know enough. You're not giving yourself enough credit. I'm sure you need to sit down and just start writing stuff down. You need to spend some time journaling. You know more than you realize you do. A lot of time, what all that is you've got mindset work to do. You've got some fears. That's all personal development stuff. It's not what you know. Okay. It's not. That's not what's holding you back. You know enough. I mean, why do you see there's people that go, well, how are you doing what you're doing? Kristi, how did you do this? Because I implemented. Because I just didn't talk. I did it. I messed up and I did it again. And then I learned from that and I did it again. And it's repetition and it's repetition and it's repetition, no matter what it is in your life. So you can't just look at people's end results and think, oh my gosh, that was so easy. It's never easy. No, you can't look at just the end result. That is a fallacy. It is a process. And so, number one, just please let this hit home. It's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. Okay, next. And on that, when you do know a lot, don't be that person that tries to impress everybody with how much you know. We all know someone like that, right? If you have to blatantly put it out there and you're that person that's always talking and making sure everybody knows that you know this and you know that and you're the one, and don't do that. That's not an appealing quality to have. So instead of doing all the talking, just start implementing. That's my suggestion. Next thing on top performance tips is really evaluating your work ethic. I'm a big one on this. I know that's just a really basic, old-fashioned, tip. Work ethic matters. It matters, it matters, it matters. And you have to realize that you sometimes need to require more of yourself. And a lot of times we step back from things because we're fearful if we can really do it. So you need to address that. You need to just address that fear head on. That's the work that needs to happen. And you have to look at your work ethic. Is that a tongue twister? Oh, goodness. Work ethic. You have to look at your work ethic. It has to be there. It has to be on point. If you are, especially, okay, let me add this. And this can be, you can apply this to your work life, to your personal life, whatever. Especially if you are in a leadership position, whether you are in a small group, a large group, you're leading 2-3 people, you're leading 400 people. I don't care. If you are that person, you must have a good work ethic. You must earn the respect of those that have chosen to follow you. And so ask yourself, does your work ethic need to be, do you need to look at that? Is that something that you could do better at? Again, it's not what you say, it's what you do. It's not what you say, it's what you do. Do you get in the trenches when it's time to get in the trenches and do the work? That's another top performance tip. Do you get in the trenches when it's needed? Like if you're a bottom-up person like myself, you've started anything, you've rebuilt your life in any way, you know what that means. You gotta get in the trenches and do the freaking work because there's nobody to do it for you. And you gotta learn it. So you gotta get in the trenches. And then, well, yeah, someday I'll just be in charge of all this stuff and I won't have to be in the trenches. True. However, you earn so much respect from your team, from those that you're leading, when you will sit and you will still get side by side, shoulder by shoulder, when they need you to, when they need the lift, when they need help getting out of the trenches, and you show up and you're that person because you can do it. Why? Because you've already done it. Now, if you haven't done it, then that can be probably a little, what's the word, like make you feel uneasy or intimidating. But you should still show up to do the best you can. You've got to get in the trenches. You can't shy away from that. So it does tie in a little bit to work ethic, but honestly, you've got to be open to getting in the trenches and doing the dang work when you need to. Because and this isn't just business, this is anything. This can be in personal life, this can be in work life. So keep an open mind on this. Follow me on this, all right? When things get tough, that's when you get to shine the most. Why? Because you get to pull out all of that force and energy and wisdom and experience that you have, that you've developed, and you get in the trenches and you help the team get out and get back on track. Or if it's a family thing, you get in the trenches, you guide everyone out of that scenario and into a better situation. You guide them out of the pit, out of the discourse, and you guide them into the positive, the flourishing, that space where people can really thrive. So whether it's work or personal, irrelevant. But to be a top performance, to be your best, you got to show up, you get in the trenches when you need to, and you help them get the job done. You help them get to the end result. You help them get to the best outcome. So there's that. Another top performance tip that I believe needs to be part of your part of your whole repertoire is holding yourself accountable. Now, this is hard. This is hard, and this takes practice, and you have to have disciplines in place. But you have to hold yourself accountable, because if you don't think that others are watching, that you're an example for, and then you say this, but you do this, or you're just not being accountable to yourself. I mean, you don't feel good about yourself. It tears away at your inner being every time you're not true to yourself, every time you're not accountable to yourself. And if you're in a leadership position and you're not holding yourself accountable, they're like, well, why should I hold myself accountable? She doesn't hold herself accountable. So what's that all about? Same thing. I mean, you could apply this to parenting. You could apply this to anything. So you got to hold yourself accountable. That's got to be a priority, and definitely an area that I feel that is always up for renewal, meaning we always have to do a little check-in. Hey, am I being accountable? What can I do to be more accountable in this area? I mean, I go through that often. As a top performer and really requiring the best of you, you want to be a solution for others. You want to be that person that has solutions, that is solution focused. Now, you may not know the exact, at the time of the issue, the time of the problem, you may not know the solution. I'm not saying that. You don't, nobody wants, we're not know-it-alls. But there is a difference with being solution-oriented versus problem-oriented. Are you sitting around going, oh my God, and focusing on all the problems and what might happen, and this could happen, and blah, 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 blah? Or do you, when presented with something, are you solution-focused? If someone comes to you with something, they don't need the list of problems. They need solutions. Are you that I can't say that, idea person? Can you come up with new ideas? Can you come up with new thoughts? Can you come up with new solutions? Are you just going to be the one that sits there and goes, man, I don't know what to do. This happened like 2 years ago. I don't know. Which one are you going to be? If you want to be your best and be a top performer, you need to be a solution, looking for solutions. Help others find solutions. A lot of times people get stuck because they don't see a solution. And when you're on the outside looking in, have you ever noticed that? Have you ever looked at, you've got a friend going through something, and they're like, just talking about this over and over and over. And you're like, you see like the writing on the wall, you see a solution, you see a good option, and they don't see it. But you're on the outside because you're not you're not in the hurricane. So you see things from a different perspective. So you're like, oh my gosh, how can they not see this? So be that person that people know they can come to, that if they were to ask you, not that you need to be like telling them, hey, this is how you need to do your life, but you have those friends, right? They're like, help me. Do you have an idea? Well, they're inviting you to help them find a solution. So be a solution for others. Don't be part of the problem. And then complaining. Oh my goodness, this is a huge one. You cannot be a top performer in life and be a constant complainer. You just can't. And if you're a leader, or you're in any type of leadership role in any capacity, you definitely cannot be a complainer. You can't complain about your own life. Here's the thing, they don't want to hear it. The people that you are leading, they don't need your problems. They don't need them. We all have stuff. Everybody has stuff. Every day we all wake up and we have something going on that technically, if you wanted to, you could complain about it. If you wanted to. You have people in your private life, you have your people that are your, what I call your venting people. You have to get stuff out. It could be a family member. It could be, it's different for each person. It could be a best friend. It could be a spouse. It could be your grandma. It could be your grandpa. You have a person, and I hope you do, that you can vent to. It might be a therapist. It could be a coach. And so it's kind of like where you just got to get crap off your chest, right? And not have a ton of judgment thrown back because of what you're getting off your chest. So there's a place for that. But I'm talking about in everyday comings and goings, especially if you are in a leadership position. If you're a parent, that is a leadership position. You do not need to be complaining all the time to your children about your life. You're just teaching them to complain. You need to be, and not saying that you don't have things that are frustrating, things that are going on, that are bothering you, but we need to flip that into gratitude. We need to flip that into what we're thankful for. So it takes the exact same amount of energy to be a complainer and to be grateful. So just choose your words. Which one do you want to go? It's like I always talk about faith and fear. Both take energy, both take effort. So do you want to be fearful or do you want to lean into faith? Same thing. So it's just, you just pick your route. So complaining or gratitude, which one? And so if you find yourself that, you're complaining about different aspects of your life, or like I said, especially if you're a leader in any capacity, leading people, it is just not what you need to be dumping on them. Dump positive words to them. Know that it's how you make them feel at the end of the day. Okay, so in any team, it's how the people on the team, how they feel. They operate from that place. They're going to perform from that place. They're going to show up from that place. So what are you giving them? How are you feeding them every day? Are you feeding them the words that you're complaining about your own life, which is really, you just got to stop that. They've got their own things to deal with. And do you know what those are? You should probably know what their things are more than they need to know what your things are if you're in a leadership position. And then lastly, I'm going to close with, on top performance tips, I'm going to close with be an opportunity maker. Be that person that wants to create opportunities for others. Because that one is so powerful. That is so powerful. To be able to create space, to create opportunities so that others who maybe don't quite know how to create that for themselves, they just need that little nudge. They just need that little guidance. Be that person that it creates opportunities for others. Again, you can apply this to your personal life. You can apply this to your work life. You pick. But in the workplace, again, going back to, if you are a person that is an example that people look to, that whether you're a leader of one or a leader of many, or you're like, Kristi, I don't lead anybody, I just show up. Trust me, there is somebody that is watching you, that you are influencing with how you move about in your life. We don't always know who those people are, but they are there. And so how you are choosing to move about in your life, they are paying attention. I'm going to take this back to parenting. we get going in our lives. We're doing things, right? We're saying things, we say this, but kids, they watch, they observe, they learn. I mean, that's going on in our own homes. So yes, it goes on in the workplace as well. Be an opportunity maker. Create opportunity for others. If you see a chance to do that for somebody, do it. Because it's not all about you. To be a top performer, there comes a time when you're like, it's all about it. It's just becomes exciting to watch people grow. It's exciting to watch them develop. It's exciting to figure out what lights them up and then how you can keep them moving on the path so that they can have opportunities. So to be a top performer, you have to take the focus off yourself. It's not about you. And it's not about what can you do for me. It's about truly being a top performer, truly serving, truly showing up as a leader is what can I do for you? Like, let me figure that out. I remember I learned that through the process of you guys, if you've been around, my story, but I've got over 25 years in multifamily housing. And so in my years of that work, in starting my first business at 32, but even before that, when I was like a property supervisor and I started as a leasing agent, right? So I started at the bottom. And then as I started getting to a point where I was able to build teams, I quickly learned that it's about how can I serve you? How can I better lead you? What can I do so that you want to come to work and you want to contribute to this team and to our goals collectively together? Like, I am so absolutely grateful that I figured that out early in life, because I have to say that was honestly understanding and making that connection is truly helped me have the amazing success that I had, because it wasn't me. It was building that team and pulling everyone together and being an opportunity maker for everyone. So the focus has to come off of you. If I could say it another way, I'll try that. And where you're focusing on the people that you're serving, be it client, be it the team, people on your team. I mean, there's kind of generally there's like two different groups that you're serving, because you got to make both happy to get to the goal, to have the success that everyone wants to have that's going to pay off for everybody. So be an opportunity maker. Start to turn the focus off of you and look at how you can better create opportunity for them by what do you need from me? And figuring out, and that takes that, you guys, you can't just, it's not a questionnaire. It's not a freaking like fill out this pamphlet and then I'll know everything. It takes time. You have to care. It comes from like leadership from the heart. You truly have to care. You have to want to do it for it to truly hit flourishing levels, to truly bring out that fire in the team. You've got to really care, I think, in order to get massive success in that area. So try to be more of an opportunity maker if you really want to have that top performance. So everything I've talked about today, you can either ponder this and say, how can I apply this to my personal life? Or you can say, how can I apply this to my work life? Either way, I know you're going to be able to pull something from a few of these nuggets of tips that I've shared with you. And I know it's going to bring you value. I always try to come and talk to you guys from like, my heart, from like real life experience. That's how I lived my life, is from experience. And so that's what I share with you. I'm not sharing with you like a theory. I didn't live my life in theory. I lived it by, actually doing things, making decisions, making mistakes, fixing, evaluating, trying again. So I'm not here I don't share a bunch of theory. I'm not reading from a book that someone else wrote. I'm sharing with like real practical life things that you can put into play if you want to. So if any of this resonates with you, I hope you save this podcast, excuse me, share it with a friend, and let's really look at ways we can be top performers in our lives, for all the ways in business and in life. So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap it up and get moving on with my day. Thank you so much for being here. You guys know I so appreciate you following this podcast. Share it with others, share it with friends. If you share it on social, please tag me. I'd love to hear your feedback. So anyways, until next time, go make this week amazing. Go be a leader in the way that you most want to show up. And I will see you next week. All right, take care.